Hi folks, let's talk about the latest meltdown from the TikTok thought police, this time starring liberal white women with savior complexes and ring lights. Apparently, if you aren't sobbing into your ethically sourced oat milk about ICE raids, you're basically the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. According to them, silence is violence, jaywalking is immigration policy now, and failing to repost their trauma porn means you hate humanity. In today's clips, we'll explore the emotional blackmail, delusional levels of moral superiority, and zero understanding of law enforcement that make up the left's latest viral pity parade. So buckle up, because the only thing these liberals are deporting is common sense.
You know what's so funny? Everyone who felt comfy enough to out themselves that they voted for Trump back in January, they're dead silent right now.
No, we're not.
Dead silent.
No, we're not. Little did you know, folks, that it is absolutely imperative to oil yourself up to share your political opinions online, because apparently if you're not glistening with performative outrage and lip syncing in front of a ring light, your silence is violence. This TikTok activist seems to think Trump voters are all dead silent about ICE raids, but no, we're just not screeching into a phone camera in a bikini pretending that law enforcement is fascism. The truth is, while she's busy filming another tear-soaked PSA, normal people are too busy working, raising families, and trying to fix the mess her vote helped create.
Apprehending them and taking them away from their families and their jobs and the lives they've built here doesn't bother you, then you're a bad person.
No, we're not.
And I don't want to be your friend.
That's
I
mutual.
don't care about your opinion.
That's mutual. Why do some folks think that this level of petty emotional coercion will ever have any sort of effect on a rational adult? This middle school level guilt trip, you're a bad person if you don't agree with me, and I don't want to be your friend, might work in a TikTok group chat, but it collapses in the face of adult reality. Sorry, but enforcing immigration law isn't a personal betrayal. It's literally what a functioning country does. And newsflash, grown-ups don't base their moral compass on whether someone with curtain bangs and a ring light wants to be their friend.
I say this in the most disrespectful way possible as a first-generation American whose parent is not from this country. If you got here and you got papers and you agree with what's going on right now, fuck you.
If you are a resident of Los Angeles, California, and you have a large platform on this app on the internet, and you have decided, you have made the conscious choice to not speak out.
Oh my God, shut up!
ICE raids that are taking place in this city right now, the attack that Los Angeles is feeling in this moment, if you're not sticking your head out for your own community, the city of Los Angeles in which you live, that you benefit so much from,
how many times?
If you can't do that,
mention Los Angeles
you do
again.
not deserve your platform, and maybe you should fucking move.
Do these women think that nagging strangers on the internet will ever work in any circumstance? Because it sure doesn't, especially when the whole speech sounds like a hostage note written by someone holding their own city at emotional gunpoint. By the way, this isn't activism, in case for some reason you didn't notice. It's a tantrum wrapped in narcissism. Imagine believing that if someone disagrees with your overwrought meltdown about ICE doing their job, that they don't deserve their platform and they should move from their city. The entitlement is off the charts. Los Angeles isn't your personal cult compound, and your feelings aren't immigration policy. Some of us still believe in borders, law and order, and adult conversations, none of which seem to be happening on this TikTok app you're a part of. Or maybe it's your cultish little Hillary Clinton-based demographic.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but being undocumented isn't a crime.
Yes,
You're
it
just
is.
racist. See you in hell. Mwah.
I think it's important to remember that though what Trump is doing in LA is absolutely deranged and incredibly fucked up, it is an act of desperation. The people behind all this, though it may seem very calculated, are not smart.
Tampon Tim's daughter calling someone not smart is like a raccoon criticizing your hygiene. It's bold, ironic, and completely detached from reality. We've now reached the part of the meltdown where law breaking isn't a crime, enforcement is deranged, and disagreement means you're going to hell. Incredible intellectual rigor. But seriously, what's the end goal here? Annoy everyone into not empathizing with your side because it's working? I genuinely want to understand what these women think they're gaining from this other than hate and TikTok dopamine. If the strategy is to alienate moderates, inflame tensions, and further infantilize a conversation, congratulations. This is a 5-star success.
California does not really belong to the United States. It belongs to Mexico, and we stole it from them in 1850.
People would not have to be protesting if what was going on in this country was even a little bit normal. Instead of thinking about what's going on, think about what has been going on that causes something like this to go on.
Yeah, I would do absolutely anything for my daughter, and that includes going to a different country to give her a better life. And being undocumented is not a criminal offense.
Yes, it is.
It's a civil one. And if you've ever jaywalked, congratulations, because you've also committed a civil offense. And you're so worried about criminals being in this country, yet you voted for one to run it.
These people are objectively retarded. The level of historical and political ignorance is beyond astounding and honestly emblematic of the American educational system. California doesn't belong to the U.S., this fool says. Okay, cool. Should we give Texas back while we're at it too? Maybe toss in Florida to Spain and call it a day. Completely nullify the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo that Mexico willingly signed in 1848 at the end of the Mexican-American War during their surrender. The logic here is non-existent. Illegal immigration isn't real because it's a civil offense. And if you've ever jaywalked, you're basically the same as someone who crossed the border illegally with no vetting, ID, or accountability. This is what happens when activism is based on vibes, not facts. If the goal is to collapse any remaining support for reasonable reform, they're doing a fantastic job, because emotional blackmail mixed with historical revisionism is the quickest way to make normal people who are sane in the head completely tune out from this nonsense.
This is one of those moments where silence feels really fucking loud, because what do you mean you're not absolutely horrified by what's happening right now? If you are not absolutely horrified by what's going on right now, your delusion.
I've seen videos of children being separated from their families.
No, you didn't.
Families being pulled apart and people crying doesn't elicit any amount of empathy.
That's not happening.
I'm so sorry, but you might be the problem. Empathy and kindness are some of the most powerful things that we have. Everyone you see on here is a person with a story just like you.
I could never and will never be friends with a Trump supporter. And I hate when people act like that statement is like a crazy thing to say.
No,
personally, I like to share similar morals and values with the people I surround myself with.
Sounds like a liberal.
And at this point, it's always been like this, honestly. It's not even political, it's a human rights issue.
Influencer and content creators, if you can't even reshare something, we see you. Speak the fuck up. You should not deserve a platform if you can't even reshare. We see you.
I say this with the most disrespect possible, but if you reap the benefits of Los Angeles and you're not willing to protect and respect the individuals who are the beating heart of Los Angeles, then leave this city. Because there are plenty of other states and plenty of other cities that will take you in your worldview, but it's not here.
The overarching goal of these videos is clearly meant to shame people into action, but all these women are accomplishing is painting themselves as the most entitled and unlikable see you next Tuesdays this side of the Mississippi since Lena Dunham went full politics. Their emotional manipulation is so cartoonish, it belongs in a Hallmark horror special. So they say, if you don't repost my TikTok, you hate children. Sorry, but screaming, we see you, like a dollar store Orwell isn't activism. It's narcissism in a crop top. And the cherry on top, demanding that Trump supporters leave Los Angeles like it's their personal fiefdom. These aren't appeals to morality, by the way. They're toddler-level meltdowns performed with the precision of an actor by people who mistake cloud chasing for compassion and social media metrics for moral authority.
I'm so fucking done. I'm done. I'm back from my little break ski because I'm just so fucking done. I don't want to see you go to fucking Malibu Farmers Market on a Sunday morning. I don't want to see you go to Rodeo Drive and buy a bunch of fucking shit right now. Are you fucking kidding me? Wake up. Wake the fuck up. How are you supporting these influencers? Seriously, I need to ask you a question. If you support an influencer specifically who lives in LA right now and you were just supporting them going about their normal daily business, their day-to-day, their pastries and their coffee and their Pilates yoga, like what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Families are being ripped apart just based on the color of their skin. Just because these fucking officers who are pretending to be ICE, no one actually knows who they are because they're just masked and in God knows what clothes, are taking them because they deemed that they don't belong here. But you're okay. You're at the farmer's market. You're doing great. God forbid you said a goddamn thing. But no, all your followers think that you're a Kamala supporter but you're not. And you never have been. And if you don't speak out, you are a shitty person too. Not only are you a Trump supporter, you're just a shitty person. Do not follow influencers who are not speaking out. Do not support influencers who are not doing the right thing. I have to make this exact same video every couple months because you idiots are still out here being like, well, I think they voted for Kamala. If you did not specifically say, I hate Trump, I don't support Trump. You say it with your heart if you feel it. Anybody who does not support Trump has no problem saying it with their heart, okay? Just listen. Listen to what these idiots are saying. And it is not okay to go about your daily life, to be selling things on the internet, to pretend everything is fucking okay when it's not. It's not.
You know, people used to be hospitalized for this level of hysteria. They used to be heavily medicated. Now it's algorithmically boosted, monetized, and called activism. And you can tell from the eyes just how far off the cliff this lady has gone. She's not calling for justice. She's demanding submission. According to her, if you live in Los Angeles and you go to Pilates or post a croissant on Instagram without screeching about ICE raids, you're not just indifferent, you're evil. Not just silent, but complicit. This is what happens when narcissism meets ideological possession. Everything becomes about her feelings, her moral panic, her need to see the world reflect her emotional breakdown, which apparently happens every single week. No surprise there. But beneath the screaming is something deeper and more dangerous. This woman is a byproduct of a culture that has replaced reason with rage and responsibility with performance art. She's part of a generation trained by the internet to equate public emotional display with moral authority. And the political left has capitalized on this by encouraging constant performative outrage as a substitute for civic engagement. Why organize? Why vote in your local elections? Why build something real when you can go viral by crying into your iPhone and calling strangers fascists for drinking coffee? And let's make one thing absolutely clear. No families are being ripped apart based on the color of their skin. That's a lie. Immigration law is about legal status, not ethnicity. ICE operations focus on individuals with removal orders, often involving criminal backgrounds and visa violations. To reduce that entire process to brown equals deported is not only false, it's a deliberate manipulation of public perception. But facts don't matter in this case, folks. Feelings do. If it feels like oppression, then it must be. If it feels like fascism, then Pilates is now collaboration. This is also what happens when education abandons critical thinking in favor of identity-based grievance narratives and indoctrinating idiots like this into neo-Marxist ideologies. We spent decades telling people that any discomfort they feel must be someone else's fault, that every inequality is injustice and every injustice is personal. The result, grown adults like this woman shrieking that your silence is violence while confusing ICE agents with stormtroopers and demanding political loyalty tests for your brunch plans. She says it's not political, it's a human rights issue. But of course it's political. It's always political with the left. It's never not political with them. Everything is political now with the left. That's the point. If everything is a moral emergency, then normal life becomes the enemy. Going to the farmer's market is all of a sudden a threat. Posting a photo without a caption denouncing Trump is all of a sudden complicity, even if you didn't vote for him. And influencers are no longer entertainers or creators. They're soldiers in an ideological war, whether they've agreed to it or not. What this video really shows is a decay of a movement that once claimed the moral high ground, but now survives on emotional fumes, running on blackmail, purity tests, and digital mobs. It's not about helping migrants. It's about controlling people, controlling your own. It's about forcing you to adopt their hysteria and be labeled the enemy. And in doing so, they're not building a coalition. They're alienating everyone with common sense. So when you see these sorts of videos, remember this. This isn't resistance. This is mediocrity. This is retardation playing out in real time. It's collapse. It's what happens when a culture loses its grip on reality and replaces it with a feedback loop of outrage, vanity, and delusion.
I accidentally bought an American flag shirt today, and I'm gonna go return it because I wasn't even thinking. I was just like, okay, it's cute. No, like, sorry, with what's happening in our country right now, trash. I'm not wearing that. people are literally getting seized and deported without the freaking due process, like, meaning the government can literally do whatever they want, and it's slowly becoming a dictatorship. No, sorry. What? This is the scariest thing ever. Like, it's literally happening in real freaking time.
Is it?
Like, I have so many people who I know personally who are super scared and will be affected by it.
Oh, who, Brenda? Who? Name one.
If you're buying shit with an American flag on it, no, not right now.
The saddest part about this video is that it's not parody. But wow, this sure does live up to the stereotype. A young woman accidentally buys an American flag, has a full moral crisis over it, and decides to return it, not because it was tacky or overpriced, but because wearing her own country symbol now feels like an act of violence. That's the state of things in 2025. This is Gen Z, folks. They're not sending their best and brightest, apparently, because basic patriotism is now considered offensive. National identity is framed as oppression, and the American flag, a symbol of freedom all around the world, to this person is a hate symbol. And the irony is, this isn't some radical activist. It's just a regular schmo on TikTok, absorbing the default messaging of our institutions, schools, media, and social platforms. That's what makes it even more concerning, that this person's actually going out and about and living in the real world under the guise of being a functional person. Now let's zoom out. This woman genuinely believes that ICE enforcing immigration law is the equivalent of dictatorship and that due process no longer exists. Not only is that categorically false, non-citizens do receive legal proceedings under immigration law, but it also reveals how little the average person understands the system they're protesting. The truth is, deportation orders come after hearings, reviews, and years of legal backlog. What she's calling seizure is in many cases the government finally enforcing a lawful removal that's been ignored for years. But she's not interested in facts. She's reacting emotionally to a narrative that's been carefully engineered by the left, that borders are racist, law is violence, and the United States is one ICE agent away from fascism. And where does that narrative come from? I'm so glad you asked. It's been cultivated for years through progressive academia, legacy media, Hollywood, and now social media influencers who trade in emotional storytelling rather than truth. They've redefined terms, stripped away nuance, and trained a generation to view national sovereignty as xenophobia and enforcement as cruelty. This girl isn't rebelling against the system, she is the system, and she doesn't realize it. She's parroting what her professors taught her, what viral TikToks told her to feel, and what corporate activism signals through every rainbow wash logo during Pride, but never during Memorial Day. Isn't that funny? Now, folks, the irony isn't lost on me. I hope it's not lost on you that the American flag, a universal symbol of freedom, self-governance, and the sacrifices of generations before us, now triggers shame in Gen Z Americans. It isn't a moral evolution. It's a cultural rot that's born out of neo-Marxism, because no other country teaches its youth to despise their own identity this way. And no movement that relies on disowning your own flag in favor of moral theatrics is built to last. You don't build a future by convincing people to hate their past, hate themselves, and hate everything about the place they live. What this moment reveals is that the left's stranglehold on cultural institutions hasn't just eroded civic understanding, it's replaced it with performative nihilism. Patriotism is no longer cool, self-loathing is a currency, and the only acceptable virtue is complete disavowal of the greatest country on earth. But here's the truth. You don't get immigrants by weakening the nation they hope to join. You don't make the world better by tearing down the country that's saved more lives and liberated more people than any other in human history. I beg you to find another one. You're not going to be able to find it. So returning a flag shirt may feel like solidarity, but in reality, it's just surrender. And if we keep raising generations who confuse guilt with virtue and ignorance with justice, we won't just lose the fabric of this nation, we'll lose the courage to defend it. So ask yourself, how do we get to a place where shame is the currency of virtue, where loyalty to your country is treated like a character flaw, and where the loudest voices are the least informed? What kind of future are we building when emotional theatrics outweigh truth and moral clarity is replaced by digital mobs demanding confession? This isn't just about one woman returning a flag shirt. It's about a culture that punishes love of country while rewarding ideological submission. At what point do we stop apologizing for existing in a nation that people risk everything to reach? And more importantly, when will we finally have the courage to say no to narratives that demand we hate ourselves just to be seen as virtuous? The choice isn't between silence and hysteria anymore. It's between illusion and truth. So pick carefully. You tell me what you think in the comments down below. Hope you have a terrific day. Peace.